Alright, let's get started with our post-production. You've been out in the field and captured all of your video. Now you're inside in the comfort of your office and you need to transfer all your video to your computer. And it's important that you store everything that will go into your video edit all in the same folder. So connect your smartphone to your computer, transfer all that footage to a folder, and here I've created a folder on my desktop called Virtual Archbold. I have first shoot, second shoot, and third shoot, and this is all my iPhone video clips. Anything else you're going to use in your project, audio, photo stills, music, other sound effects, create a folder for all of that. And so that way when you begin editing, your edit is just going to link to all the content in this folder. Once you've transferred it and organized it, you want to leave it and make sure it's in a safe place and even back it up into a second place. So I normally use Final Cut Pro. I'm going to use iMovie for this tutorial. I found iMovie to have a similar universal layout to other PC-friendly editing software that's a small charge to purchase or even free, like Kdenlive or Movavi. So what you learn here with iMovie can be applied to other PC editing software. This layout is universal. So over here you'll have your project, which goes under your library that holds all your media. And so this is your media, this is your viewer, and down here is your timeline for your project. So you can view clips from your project timeline in this window if you put your cursor down here and hit play or spacebar to play. Or if you just want to view clips, if you click up here in your media library, you can peruse the different clips. So the first thing you do is you want to create your own library. So we'll go File, New Library, and make sure you store that library in the same folder as all of your media. So we'll call this Training Video. Now I can shut down my Virtual Archbold library, and we're going to create a new project. Here's our project. The default name is My Movie, which you can change. So we'll call it Training Video. So now this is a blank slate. So we need to import the media that you have stored on your computer or hard drive. So you can import it by clicking this arrow, or come up here to File, Import Media. Then navigate to your folder, and you can select everything or just the clips that you want. You can make sure you get the clip that you want up here in this viewer window. So for this, I'm just going to bring in a few clips as a demo. So now the fun begins, and the first step is to click and drag or insert your media into your project timeline down here. This is your edit. And it's like a puzzle, so we're going to organize the clips and any other media you're using, audio, visual, graphics, in the sequence that matches up with the story that you want to tell based on your educational goals. So the first clip for how iMovie works, the first clip you enter into the timeline will determine the resolution and frame rate of your video. If you filmed most of your footage with 4K at 30 frames per second, make sure the first clip that you enter into your project is 4K at 30 frames per second. So this one meets the objective, so that goes first. And you can change how large each of these clips appears. So if you wanted to see more detail and go frame by frame, you can make the entire clip larger, but as you add more clips, it works best to find a middle ground to have some access to detail, but see multiple clips in a row. So now we'll just, based on the story you want to tell, you just start clicking and dragging, or for iMovie you can just select the clip, put the cursor where you want it to go, and then hit W, and it automatically inserts it. So now our video timeline is getting filled up with different shots. As you go through each shot to manipulate it to make it shorter or slow it down, you can just click and drag down here to make it shorter or longer. And it looks like there's a gap in between each clip, but there isn't. So if I hit play, it's continuous. Now let's say you want to import some more media. Let's go to our folder. Let's bring in our Google Earth zoom. Now we want this to go at the beginning, so put your cursor at the beginning and then insert. Now there's a bit of a delay before it starts to zoom in, so cut off, make the first part a little bit shorter. Once you get all your clips in the order that you want, then the next part would be to go through each clip and adjust the color correction. So up here here's the color balance, which you can do automatic. Here's to do a manual adjustment. This bar all affects the exposure. So here's highlights. These two are contrast, brightness, and this is shadows. Over here is saturation, so move it, let me pick a different clip. Get this oak shrub. So if we want more saturation or less saturation, since most of these clips are filmed on a smartphone, there shouldn't be too much color correction in post-production, because you're not, unless you're recording some log footage, which has more of a flat appearance with the raw footage, then that would require more work in post-production, but this already looks pretty good. There's not going to be much work. iPhone has already done most of the color correction for you. And this is the temperature, so you can make the clip warmer, a bit more red or cooler, but it was already pretty good. So another tool up here is crop. So say you want to zoom in a little bit to this scrub oak, you can select the clip, hit the crop tool, and crop to fill, and you can zoom in, create this box that will zoom in to a new frame, then hit enter. This is for image stabilization. So if you have any shaky video, click this button and it does a decent job stabilizing. You want to make sure that it looks better than the original. Sometimes it doesn't, and if it doesn't, just unselect that. Sometimes the video is just too shaky and beyond any help that this tool can do. Here's the audio tool. So this is both the video and audio down here, and this is the control for, you can see it's changing up top there. You can also detach the audio. You need to make the decision if the audio is even usable. if you can do anything to it to make it sound better, reduce background noise, change the volume levels, add an equalizer. If not, you can just delete the audio and put a different audio track underneath there that sounds better and is representative. So another option is you can change the speed. So you can slow it down or you can speed it up. And so the best thing is to select custom, and then you can experiment with, say you just want to slow it down a little bit. This little turtle appears. So when using the Osmo stabilizer, it can be really nice to slow the clip down a little bit and then add that stabilized shaky video for some really nice smooth looking shots. We've gone through with creating a library, creating a new project, importing media to that project, then taking that media and introducing it to the timeline here in a certain order, and then manipulating each clip with color correction, speed, stabilization, crop, and audio. The next thing is to add a title to your video. So here are all the title options in iMovie. So once you add a title, you can't change the location on the frame. So pick a template that approximates where you want the title to go. So say for the scrubbook, we just want it to be a lower third. So click and drag the title down above the video clip. And you can change the length of that for however long it stays on screen. So here, this is almost 8 seconds. If you want it a little shorter, here's 4.5 seconds. And just click that title, and then you can manipulate it up here, change the text, change the font. You can change the size and also change the color. And you can play with, if you want it italic, outline, or bold. Next thing is transitions. Sometimes it's nice to start out a video with a fade in, which is a cross dissolve. So here are all the transitions available in iMovie. You can just click and drag, hit play. If you decide you don't want it, just delete. Okay, so those are the basics. Show libraries. Now I'm going to open up the library for the Archbold video, which has a first draft. So click on the library, Virtual Archbold, and click on Projects, open Virtual Archbold. Hide library. So you can see I've added a cross dissolve at the beginning, and then a cross dissolve from Google Earth to the first video clip. Here's the entire timeline. So it's 5.5 minutes with the Google Earth zoom in. You can see all the different shots that it took to tell this story. So all these, the clips down here in the timeline with the turtle means I adjusted the speed, so most of the time slowed it down. This one was slowed down to 10%. The clip with the reverse playhead means I reversed it. So come up here to the speed tool and click reverse. I'm just gonna hit play and do a short commentary. This first shot is introduction to the sandy Florida scrub. This is a slow motion shot with the bee on the tar flower. Now I'm walking with the handheld stabilizer exploring the scrub. There's a nice hog plum, a little splash of color. Now this transitions to an orange grove, which is what happened to most of the Florida scrub on the Lake Wales Ridge. It was converted to orange groves. The shot down here was reversed to go from the orange grove pan over to the scrub. This is a reveal from the scrub to the archbold sign. There's a blueberry. There's a macro shot of sand. So again, you can manipulate the length of any of these clips. You can make it shorter or longer. You can change the sequence for if you want this clip to go over here instead. Just select, you can click and drag and put it wherever. If you want to add another clip to the timeline, put the cursor where you want the clip to go, and then just click and drag it in. The audio here isn't complete, but I will be adding some more audio clips below. So here's that same project. Now I've done a lot more work on the audio edit. So down here in the timeline, right here you can see with the thumbnails, those are all the video clips. And I've gone through each one of the video clips and made the decision if there was any audio that was usable from each clip. If it wasn't usable, I could just bring the volume all the way down to 0 so you won't hear it. Or I can detach the audio from the video and then just delete that audio clip. The way that works is, here's a raw video clip. Turn the volume up. And you can hear that it sounds just terrible. This is a shot from up on the water tower at Archbold Biological Station. So like I can bring the volume all the way down, or select that clip, right click, and select detach audio. Now with that audio detached, I can move that clip wherever I want to in my edit. Just click it and drag it wherever you want it to go. But in this case it sounds terrible, so I'm just gonna delete it. Now the rest of the clips, there was, especially for the shots where I filmed early in the morning and it was a day without much wind, there's a lot of good audio there. So what I did was take all that usable audio, and maybe the source video I'm only using a couple seconds, but the full clip is longer than that, and I can use the entire audio from that full clip. So say for example the audio, this audio is 10 seconds, and maybe it came from this clip, which is only 3.5 seconds, but I can make that audio clip longer so it can be used over additional video clips. So then I just rearranged everything to have a nice representative sound to match with each visual. With this Google Earth shot, I started the audio when we got a little bit closer to the Florida landscape. Then I faded in the audio to bring the viewer into the story, into the Florida scrub. So I'll play that for you. And I'm going to zoom in to my timeline here so you can see some of the detailed work I did on the audio edit. You can see this video clip begins here and ends here, but I have the audio overlapping. And that's just so there's a smooth transition in between each shot. And then you can control the fade in and out, just like a cross dissolve for the video, you can do a cross dissolve for the audio. And the audio is just as important as the video for the story, because it helps tell the story with, if you see a bee, you want to hear that bee. For example, right here. And there's other characteristic animals of the Florida scrub, like the eastern towhee and the Florida scrub jay and the common nighthawk, and I made sure that those sounds appear throughout the edit. So back to the cross dissolve for the audio, these are, some people call them rubber bands, and all you have to do is hold your mouse over the edges of the volume bar here, and you can see I turned the volume all the way up because the source audio is so poor. Anything to improve the volume and amp it up helps, but don't go too high. So there's no audio meters in iMovie, so you just have to use your best judgment for the volume. So for the rubber band, you can see 25 frame, almost 1 second dissolve. You don't need very much. You can see this dissolve is 4 seconds. So for the Google Earth, I had a slower audio dissolve into the scene. And I'll just pan through. You can see all these audio clips overlap with each other, so there won't be any distracting clip sounds in between them. Also for the audio, if you want to add some music, so I've already imported a music track, and that's right here. I'm just going to click and drag that down here, and then you can position it for wherever you want it to start. Maybe you want it to start when the action gets more interesting later on in the film, or maybe you just want to have some music at the beginning or the end. To do a slow fade in, just adjust that rubber band there so the music will slowly fade in, and then adjust the volume. And you can see the music goes to about 2.5 minutes long. So now we have our video track layer in our timeline. We have our audio, nature, soundscape layers underneath, and then we have music. And if you ever add narration to your videos, then you would also add that as a separate track down here with the rest of the audio. So in my production tutorial, I described how you could use apps on your mobile phone like voice memo, and that's what this clip is here. It's just a voice memo recording from my phone that I then shared to this computer, and then I imported it into my project here. So we'll just click and drag that, and you can see with the waveform, let me turn the volume up so you can see it better, that this is where something is said and then there's a break. So then you would want to edit, break up this narration track to synchronize with the visual. And like all the audio clips, if you right click, you can split the clip, and then just rearrange it for wherever you want the narration to go in your sequence. So another note about music is make sure that you license your music and you have permission to use it. A couple sites I like to go to are the Envato Market Audio Jungle, which has some inexpensive options, and but they're not curated very well, so there's a whole range of quality. The one I use most is Premium Beat at premiumbeat.com. So you can search based on mood or genre. Each song is about $50 to license, so you can download a preview track and then import that into your edit and see if it works. So that covers the audio. The next thing I want to describe is adding a graphic like a logo. So what I've learned using iMovie is that even though you can have multiple tracks down here for the audio in the timeline, you can only have one graphic at a time in this overlay above the video clips. For example, let me get rid of that logo. So up here in my library, I have the Archbold logo. I can click and drag that down here, and it is a PNG file, which only import your logos as PNG files if you wanted to overlay the video. So here's the logo, but it's covering up the video below. So what you do is just select that clip, come up to your toolbar here, and select Picture in Picture. Now, here's our logo overlaying the video, and from here we can adjust the size and position, and there's some other things you can tweak. Now, if I want to add my Into Nature Films logo, you can see it won't let me position it over that Archbold logo because you could only have one graphic overlay at a time. You can position text graphic over video, but you can't have two graphic overlays in text over the visual. So what you're going to have to do is, if you have multiple logos or graphics you want to overlay your video, you're going to have to insert it already bundled together the way that you want it as a PNG file. So you're going to need software like Photoshop. So here in Photoshop, I took these two logos, and I'll be adding the OBFS and the NSF logo right here and here. So here's the Archbold logo, and I reduced the size and made it the same size as my Into Nature logo. So I made them both about 700 pixels in height. And then I position them here, and then I save this as a PNG file. And then I imported that into my library. And here it is right here. So I'll just click and drag that. And now I can have two graphics, which in this case are two logos at the same time. And if the position isn't quite right, I can always go back into Photoshop to adjust that. Okay, so once you've finished, you've added all your text, you've done your color correction, you've manipulated the audio for continuous audio track down here. The next step is to export your video. So for iMovie, come up to File, Share, and select File, so you get the highest quality uncompressed file out of iMovie. Make sure it includes video and audio, the highest resolution. This just adds, this is a ProRes codec, but for since we're delivering the final video on YouTube, high is fine. And compressed to better quality. Gives a size estimate, it's going to be 1.24, so you can see if you increase the ProRes, it'll be 25 gigabyte. Low quality is only half a gigabyte, so high is a good middle ground. And then store it in the same folder as the rest of your media. Virtual Archbold Draft 1. Save. But I've already done this. So here's the Virtual Archbold video I exported, Virtual Archbold Rough Draft 2. So on the Mac computer, you just open that with QuickTime Player, and if you want to make a decision if you want to upload that to your social media platform, Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, as the original 4K, which would be 1.23 gigabyte, or if you want to compress it. And generally 1080p is fine for online web viewing. So we'll just export this as 1080p, and that takes a few minutes, and that's what this file was. So it goes from 1.23 as 4K down to 442 megabyte as a HD file. And from there, go to Vimeo or YouTube. We'll select New Video, Upload. So it would be this one. So after your video is done uploading to your online video player, whether that's YouTube, Vimeo, or Facebook video player, you need to adjust the settings, enter your title, then your video description, And you can use an auto-generated thumbnail or upload your own. I recommend uploading your own. Then you can choose to have the video public and visible by anyone, or you can make it password protected. And in Vimeo, you can control whether people can download that video. So if you want to share a video with your colleagues, you can turn that download option on and they can download it from the Vimeo site. Click on distribution and you can enter tags right here, and that's to help people find your video a little easier. So you could enter the name of your biological field station or the ecosystem that is covered in the video, and then make sure to save. And then here is the link that you would copy and then share. So that's it, everybody. Thank you for watching and good luck.